In this video, we will talk about what a subset is. And I want to begin with some definitions. So the first definition is that we say a set A is a subset of a set B if every element of A is also an element of B. And in that situation, the way we write it is we write A, and then I write this sort of sideways U, and that's the symbol for is a subset, and then B. So that is our notation to say A is a subset of B. All right, and then the second part of this definition says, if A is a subset of B and B is a subset of A, well, what does that mean? That means that A and B would have exactly the same elements. And in that scenario, we say that A and B are equal. And the way we write that is, I think, what we'd expect. I would say A is equal to B. Alrighty, so we have these two notations, these two definitions. Let's do an example to practice using these. Alright, so here's an example. So I have these four sets, S, A, Z, and Y, and they each have, the elements of all of these sets are some US states, and we have a true or false question. Part A asks, A is a subset of S. So is that true or is that false? Well, this is true. And it's true because, it's true since every element of A is also an element of S. That's what it takes for one set to be a subset of the other. Both California and Hawaii, which are the elements of A, are also elements of S. California is an S, and Hawaii is also an S. Alrighty, so let's do another example. So part B, is Z a subset of S? So for this one, I want you to try it. Pause the video for 30 seconds, should be pretty quick hopefully, and see if you can determine whether this is true or false. 4, 3, 2, 1, pause the video. Pause it for 30 seconds to try this question. It's really important to really seize these times that I provide in videos for these pauses to actively engage with questions like this. It gives you a chance to test how well you're understanding these concepts, and that can be beneficial before you even go to try the homework problems, because you'll have gone through that process of thinking through similar questions already. Alrighty, so hopefully you've done that. Hopefully you paused it for about 30 seconds to try this. So is Z a subset of S? Well, no, this is false. Z is not a subset of S. And the reason is since there's an element of Z that is not in S. That is not in S. Namely, so what's the thing that's in Z but not in S? It's Alabama. So even though California and Washington happen to be an S as well, Alabama is not an S. So Z is not a subset of S. So if I wanted to notate that, we would say something like Z, the symbol for subset. I put a slash through it, that means it's not, and then I'd write S. Okay, so B was false. One more part to this example. Z is equal to Y. So are Z and Y the same? So Z has California, Washington, Alabama. Y says Alabama, Alabama, California, Washington. So this is actually true. And it's true because Z and Y have exactly the same elements. So they both have California, Washington, and Alabama. Even though Y says Alabama twice, that just means Alabama's in there. So for our purposes, when we see a set, we ignore repeats. So if an element is listed multiple times, that doesn't change the meaning. It just means, well, that element is in there. Okay, and that brings me to a convention. So typically, it's convention to not write repeated elements within a set. So usually we wouldn't see a set written how y is, where the Alabama is written twice. It would be more common to see a set written as z, where each element is just listed one time. Although it's not wrong to write a set how y is written. Alrighty, so I want to end this video with a comment about the notation for subsets. So there's another notation for subsets which you may have seen before. So other math textbooks or other instructors sometimes use the notation A, we write the subset symbol, and we put a little line under it, and then write B to indicate that A is a subset of B, and they would write A, the subset symbol, and then B without that little line underneath it to indicate something slightly different. This would indicate that A is a subset of B, but it's not equal to B. So it's not the same as B. So I'm going to put this in a little bubble just so that you're aware that there is this other notation to indicate subsets. But I also just want to note now that we in our class won't use this notation. So when you work out problems on your homework assignments and on your quizzes, I want you to use the notation that I introduced in the definition above without that line underneath to indicate a subset, and not this other notation that has the line underneath it. So in terms of our goals for this section, we have finished our first goal, which is we've defined what sets and subsets are and given some examples of them. In the over the next few videos, we'll start to talk about how we can construct new sets from given sets. So we'll talk about operations like unions, intersections, complements, and Cartesian products.